Report Rutgers could be first team to miss NCAA Tournament, despite having 2 top-5 NBA draft picks. No team is a bigger bummer in college basketball than Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights' most recent failure came Monday night, a 75-63 home defeat versus Wisconsin to drop them to 8-7. It's the latest letdown from a group that, heading into the season, had many otherwise uninterested observers suddenly curious, for 2 tantalizing reasons. Dell and Harper and Ace Bailey. Bailey and Harper, ranked no. 2 and 3 in the class of 2024, picking a place that had never before landed 5-star talent. It was a rare Cinderella-type recruiting story at the high major level. It also ensured Rutgers would be fascinating counterprogramming to plenty of the more experienced teams succeeding on the backs of veteran players, many via the portal. Well, we're almost halfway through the season, and the gambit has been a bust. After missing the previous game, Harper, 21.1 pg, 5.2 up, 4.5 ap, semi-returned from sickness Monday. He sat most of the second half, sat from having the flu, and helplessly watched from the bench as Bailey, 19.1 pg, 7.6 arch, failed to spark a comeback against a much better, much happier, much more confident Wisconsin squad. Those two are incredibly talented young men with very bright futures in the NBA, but they don't try hard defensively, a high major assistant who faced Rutgers this season told CBS Sports. In college, anytime any team is built around 2 freshmen, and those freshmen don't necessarily have the maturity or intangibles of what goes into winning yet, it's going to impact your team. That's not saying they're bad young men, they just don't have what it takes to win yet. Rutgers was supposed to be one of the 8 teams this year. While few thought it would rise to the level of Final Four contender, many believed it could and would be a factor in the Big Ten and prove relevant throughout the season before qualifying for the NCAA Tournament. Instead, Steve Pikiell is overseeing one of the most disappointing and vexing teams in the sport. Rutgers, which lost again to Princeton this season and got beat at home by Kennesaw State, isn't even a bubble team. That's what can happen when you change your template and rely on freshmen, after having never done so before, as Pikiell is responsible for now. It's not a surprise, the coach added. I'm not shocked by them not being great, at all. You don't have to guard everyone else. From a technical preparation standpoint, you don't have to overly defend everyone else. The game plan is, how do you stop those 2 guys? They average a combined 5 assists. They pass out of necessity. Programs that rarely, if ever, land blue-chip prospects typically don't fare well after getting once-in-a-lifetime recruiting classes. Rutgers in pacing to be the latest example. Despite the issues, Harper and Bailey are obviously ultra-talented dynamos, which makes this all the more frustrating. Few dudes in college basketball are more statistically impactful yet. Ironically, their stats don't correspond to a lot of winning. Harper recently logged the first triple-double by an RU player since 1983, one of the best games in Rutgers history. Last week, when Harper was out against Indiana, Bailey also put up one of the school's best performances, when he had a career-high 39 points, plus 8 rebounds, and 4 blocks in a loss at Indiana. Dylan Harper's a expletive monster of middle pick and roll, an opposing coach told CBS Sports, but they're not hard to guard. They don't run around. It's not like 4 or 5 people touch the ball and feel involved. If you want to be a good offensive team, you have to weaponize the guys around them. Harper's going to contend with Duke's Cooper Flagg to be the No. 1 pick in June's NBA draft. Bailey won't be far behind. I'll be shocked if both aren't taken in the top 5. This isn't LSU with Ben Simmons, Georgia with Anthony Edwards, or Washington with Markelle Fultz. Those teams only had one highly projected NBA draft pick. Rutgers has two. The only other team in the conversation to have two lottery picks on the roster this season is Duke. The Blue Devils are 13-2 and rank no. 1 at KenPom, with the best defense in the country. After years of winning in a rugged defensive mold, Rutgers' resistance on that end of the floor has wilted. Pikiell in effect swapped out a defense-first culture for two-star freshman scorers, and it's resulted in arguably the most underwhelming story in the sport through the first half of the season. If this keeps up, it will go from underwhelming to historic in its ineptitude. They'd also be the first school in the modern era to sign two top-5 high school prospects and fail to qualify for the big dance. It would be more than a missed opportunity. It would leave an unfortunate taint on their fleeting one and only year with Rutgers. Expect further. According to Sports Reference, only 3 teams ever have not gone dancing despite having 2 or more players as top 10 picks that same year. If you think it's happened in the past 10 to 15 years, as one-and-done culture became a defining character trait of college basketball, you'd be wrong. One example is 2012-13 Kentucky, which did have 2 top 10 picks on the team, but they weren't drafted in the same year. Nerlens Noel was in the 2013 draft, while Willie Cauley-Stein wasn't taken until 2015. The only 3 teams to have 2 top 10 picks in the same year and not make the tournament all came long before the 60-14 tournament era. Typically, if you've got super high-end NBA talent at more than one position, you're qualifying for the big dance, with plenty of room to spare. That's not the case in Piscataway. Rutgers is as compelling as it is oftentimes underwhelming. I think Harper is about as good as it gets. Another coach who faced Rutgers this season told CBS Sports, both draft potential and college impact. But Bailey is inconsistent. He's an unwilling passer and a disinterested defender, and his shot selection is so bad that if he isn't making ridiculous shots, they are in trouble. They don't have enough shooting around those guys, and the guys that can shoot are bad defenders. The guys that do defend can't shoot. You watch Rutgers, and you see a team void of identity other than being the team that was supposed to be good. Who is the leader? Are Harper and Bailey buying into Pikiell's playbook? Watching Rutgers play, it's hard to make that case. Bailey and Harper average 40.2 points combined, which is 10 more, 30.3, than the next 5 highest minutes getters, Jeremiah Williams, Jordan Durkak, Lathan Somerville, Jamaikel Davis, and Zach Martini. Bailey and Harper have combined to take 416 shots, the other 5 345. The supporting cast has to play a bigger role as soon as possible to give this team a shot. They're talented enough to turn it around too, one assistant said. I'm not sure how much fun guys are having on the team. It's hard to win when guys aren't having fun. This can't be easy for Pikiell. We only made it until January 7 before the final unbeaten lost, and boy did Tennessee lose on Tuesday night. Florida's 73-43 bludgeoning of the Vols was the 3rd largest margin of victory against a no-one team ever. The blowout was so surprising, it might recalibrate some folks' opinions on UT, but keep in mind 2013-14 UConn wasn't nearly as good as these Vols seemed to be. And that group also lost a game by 30+ before eventually winning it all. As for losing the last unbeaten before the midway point of the season, that's become the trend. For a long time, in most years, we'd at least get to the back half of January before the last team finally got gotten. In recent years, the day surrounding New Year's Day has become the landing zone for the final undefeated to fall.